let's get right into it. We'll start off with a Mustad C77 SAP. That's their new hooks. And that's going to be in the size 2/0. I like the size 2/0 for most of these flies. Some other materials you're going to need: some faux bucktail, some crystal flash and olive. This is Bill's body braid and the pearly silver and gold, and just a bobbin, bodkin, whip finish, and scissors. All right. So just using clear mono thread again, mainly because we're going to put eyes on this fly, and this disappears underneath the resin. So we'll just start at the hook eye. I'm just going to lay it down a nice base over this whole hook shank. You never want to tie materials onto a bare hook shank because they're going to slide it around, especially on a hook like this new SAP hook that's kind of coated in a slippery material to help it set better. This faux bucktail, it's not really like bucktail, but it is tapered material. It does have its uses. One of its strong points is that when you lay it down on top of the hook, it's pretty rigid and it won't foul. It's not going to splay like bucktail, but we really don't want that to here. It makes a really good base for a tail on this fly. So we're going to cut off a bunch. I'd say it's probably going to be equal to about the wire of the hook you're using, maybe a little bit thicker. And I'm just going to take the whole thing we cut off and just cut that in half. And that should give us about the right length for this fly. And we're going to tie that probably about 2/3 of the way up to hook shank. You want to leave a little room in front of it to tie in your other materials. And all this material has to be tied directly on top. We don't want anything going down the sides of this. So just hold it up while you're lashing it down. Keep it on top. Go all the way back to the hook bend. Come all the way forward. You can go straight into the crystal flash here. I'm gonna just kind of got one guy who doesn't want to go straight. I'm gonna put down a couple strands of this body braid, pearly silver and gold. Kind of makes a nice transition from the faux bucktail to the crystal flash. Again, this is gonna be right on top. Just loop it over right in front of the bucktail, and you're gonna lay it down right on top of it. Just keep everything right on top of the hook shank. Pull it back, cut it even with the tips of the bucktail. And we'll get our finger brush and just brush it right out. All right. I'll take the olive crystal flash. You can do a few tie-ins of this. Take it, and just like you tied in the body braid, right in the middle, pull it up, let it lay flat right on top of the other materials you've already tied in. Nothing down the sides on this, just right on top. We'll trim this to length at the end. Pinch it, try to make it stand up. Let's grab another chunk of that. This olive and gold color, kind of what I use to imitate Sandeels. And the profile of this fly is really perfect for a Sandeel. Comes out looking almost exactly like the natural. And again, right on top. Just want to keep everything right on top. Now this fly won't foul. The epoxy is going to go past the hook bend. This tail is going to be really durable. It'll hold up to bluefish and whatever you're going to throw at it. And that's about good right there. Now, just like the Albie beam, I'm going to take a wingspan, maybe a little bit more of this pearly silver and gold. It's much better to have too much of this stuff to start out with than not enough. You don't want to have to tie in another piece of this when you're wrapping this around. It's just going to cause problems. If you have too much, so the excess just used for the tail of an Albie bean, or the tail we use for this fly. You always find a use for it. So start right at the middle, and then we're just going to wrap back. Again, you don't have to wrap too tight on this. You don't want to pull the material down the sides with the fly, and once you get to the back, you definitely don't want to pull this this body braid down the back and, you know, manipulate the tail in a way that doesn't look natural. So once you get to the back, just wrap it loose, go around a couple times. If you see you move some stuff, you know, just pick it up, readjust it, and then just walk your way back up front. The nice thing about this pearly silver and gold, it has that iridescence to it. It kind of blends right into the olive crystal flash once it you know, once you put the coat of epoxy over it. It gives a really nice nice look to the fly. Kind of looks like you have scales up front, and you get some flash in the tail. It's like I said, it's durable. It's not going to foul on you. Profile, this is almost exactly like an epoxy jig. We all know how effective those are for Albies and striped bass and pretty much, you know, everything else that swims out there. And it's mainly the technique of putting the resin on that lets you do it in one coat. That makes this, you know, simple. Well, that's where most people run into trouble with this, is putting the resin on. You know, they'll try to do multiple coats. They'll try to put a thin coat down, then the thick coat over it, or a thick coat and a thin coat over that. And I think where most guys run into the problems with that is that once you have that first coat down, it's really hard to see where your resin is after you've applied another coat of resin on top of it, and it will start to pool. And as soon as you hit this with the light, it really heats up pretty hot, and that will make thick resin run, and you wind up with bumps and you know, just be really uneven. It's you know, quite a few videos online where guys are tying these and they come out really uneven. And you know, a fly like this might take a little while to tie, but kind of like I said in the Albie bean video, this fly is going to last a long time unless you lose it. You know, it's all epoxy with resin up front. You know, teeth aren't going to destroy that. You can whack it off the motor, the rocks, you know, whatever. Back cast, you know, hit something behind you, it's not going to blast apart the way a clouser will. It'll hold up to all that stuff. So I just want to get a nice even body over the hook. And like I said, we're going to fill this kind of little spot in right here with epoxy, and it will really you know, be a nice taper down to it. And just about done here. A couple more wraps up front. Once you get here, just go over the top, kind of lock a few wraps in front of it, another one behind, and a few more in front. And you can clip off this excess. Like I said, we wound up with like maybe 1.5 foot excess. Just use that for the tail for the next fly. It really is a pain in the neck to try to tie in another piece of that stuff and wrap it and have it come out good. Definitely better to have too much than not enough to start off with. For the eyes, I like a big eye in this fly. I think if you're going to put the eye in the fly, it might as well be pronounced. Give something the fish to key in on. Just use your bodkin. I'm just going to wrap over this with this clear thread, and you know, that'll disappear right into the resin once we put it on there. So pat it down, and then I didn't say this in the Albie bean video, but when I like to wrap the eyes, I like to pull a little extra thread off. That way you can wrap this kind of loose. You don't want to be pulling this too tight right here and digging into the fly. It's kind of like a loose wrap. Just go over the eyes, and you get right back up to the nose, go around a few times, then you can, you know, then you can pull it. I'm just gonna whip finish this. Be ready to put the resin on. Sometimes I'll scoot off the end like that. Just redid what you just did. Again, loose. Hold it right over the front. All right. Now, Gloop Sculpt method, like I said in the past, it's going to look like a big mess to start off with. Basically, just run a large bead of this right down the back. A little turn. We're just glooping this on. The viscosity of this solar stick is gonna hold it in place for you, and it's not gonna drip the way a thin or a medium would. Really, the only other resin that I've used anyway that this is possible with is that Gulf Fat Man, which actually works pretty well as well. Just haven't been able to get that resin as readily as we have in the past. You can see I have time to put the cover back on this, and this isn't gonna be a big mess on there. All right, get the bodkin, and just get these. What we're trying to do is just build a little bit up around this tail area so we can make a nice transition from the epoxy to the tail. It's gonna take a couple times. Usually just drag it towards the front. Make sure you can get around the whole hook eye so there's no gaps there. And you want to drag it all the way to the back. Get around the whole tail, past the hook bend, so there's no gaps there. And this stuff, it likes to even itself out. It likes to stay together. You give a little bit of help, it will do a lot of the work for you. You can see I haven't really done that much to this, and it already goes from a big mess to something that does starting to look halfway decent already. So just go right around, try to tuck it up underneath that hook bend. Pull the tail down. Yeah, just take your time with this, because that's the beauty of this glue. You can have this exactly how you want it before you have to zap it with the light. And however it looks, when you have, however you want it, is exactly how it's going to look once it's zapped. So just make sure it's perfect. And you spend a lot of time making these, and might as well have them come out without any unevenness or bumps or anything else. It's nothing hard here. It's just manipulating the epoxy to get it nice and even. Really, what I'm looking for when I'm doing this is the big mass of it that kind of bubbles to one side or the top or the bottom. That's what you want to grab with the bodkin and move around. The rest will kind of level itself out. You can see I'm quite a ways past the end of the body I made now. Just drag some to the front, close to that hook eye again. Sorry, you can hit the hook eye and then pull it right back off. It's nothing. You're not gonna cloud the hook eye with this stuff. You can kind of just pull that whole thing all the way back. It's getting pretty even now. Like I said before, with the light, you don't want to just hold this in one spot and zap it with the light. That's gonna just make everything run to one side. What happens is the light, when this glue sets, it heats up a lot, and heating this stuff up is kind of what thins it out. So turn your light on, and we're gonna flash it back and forth, up and down. This is gonna set the outside layer. Once the outside layer is set, then you can take your time afterwards and cook underneath. But set that outside layer so it doesn't pool on you. You can see it's nice and even. It's nice and smooth. I'll show you that trick again about how to get rid of all the tackiness. So yeah, once we get to here, this outside is set now. If you just stroke your hands on it, the oil in your hands will get rid of all that tack. It'll be nice and smooth and shiny. You don't need to use any alcohol or anything. Just let the oils in your hands do that. Give it a good 30 seconds each side. The better light you have, the better this is going to penetrate and just be faster for you. I use the solar as light. It seems to work really well. Has a really nice LED in it that really gets this glue set quick. And any place that you didn't have the body perfectly even, it might look like what would look like a bubble, but that's not a bubble. It's just solid resin. Kind of right here, you can see we didn't have the body braid perfectly even all the way up to the back. That's just a solid resin bump right there. It's not a bubble. It's not weak. Nothing's gonna happen to it. Those are fine. Yeah, just let this cook. Once it's cooked, you can have a nice durable fly. It's pretty light. The body braid isn't a heavy material. There's a nice iridescence underneath the resin. All right, that's about done. I can trim this. Usually I like to just kind of take the tail, kind of fan it in my hands like that. I'll just give it a little bit of a rounded shape. Yeah, even, smooth, one coat. And here's the finished fly. You can see it's even. The body extends just past the end of the hook bend. That model thread we used disappeared right in the eye. It's nice and shiny. We didn't put anything on top of this. That tail will never foul. You can do this in, you know, a ton of color combinations. Just Sandeel like we did here. Chartreuse and white, chartreuse and pink, pink and white. You can do it all pearly silver, all pearly gold. You know, possibilities are endless. So yeah, just you know, practice that Gloop and Sculpt method, and you know, you should be able to get really even results. Just one coat, just like this, and yeah, it's a great fly, durable. It'll catch you a lot of fish. If you like this, consider subscribing to our channel. Thanks.